listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where the speech is free, but the booze is not. And welcome to this very special edition of the show. It's Wednesday, November 27th, the year of our Lord 2024, just one day before Thanksgiving. So today, I'm usually used to broadcasting it at night. It's daytime. So today I have the unique honor of speaking to Steve Stern, a dedicated longtime Republican proponent, consultant, coordinator, advisor to many, a great American, CEO of the Flag Shirt, host of the Stern American Show about a critical issue today. And I'd like to show you first. These are Steve's major sites. This one is sternamerican.com. This one is theflagshirt.com. And BZ, why are you mentioning these? Because I happen to have one on right now, as a matter of fact. And I should like to mention to you that it comes in Omar the Tent Maker size, which is what fits me. So thanks for that. That's absolutely fabulous. We're going to be talking about the critical issue today, which is that of election strategies, election security, election integrity, and what the Republican Party absolutely has to be able to do in order to appropriately guarantee the security of future elections in terms of just fundamental fairness, fundamental efficiency, and most important, accuracy. So, Steve Stern, welcome. And thank you for being here today, sir. I appreciate it. Before we get into the topic, can you tell people just a little bit about yourself, sir, if you would?
Sure. Well, we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. That's the most important thing because, you and I are working pre-Thanksgiving. A lot of people are already gone on their way to their holiday, and we'll be celebrating a holiday at my daughter's house. So I belong to the Broward Republican Executive Committee. I am a vice chair. I started about 20-something years ago, and a funny thing happened. Before I came on today, I went to lunch with my granddaughter and my wife, and somebody came up to me wearing my hat here with a war room and my flag shirt, said, "You must be a Republican." I said, "You're right. You must have voted for Trump." "Yep. Well, I voted for Trump too, and I'd like to get involved in Broward County." So I whipped out my card, handed him a card. And that's why when you go out on your shirt any place, and that's why we do the flagshirt.com, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. But if you go to www.theflagshirt.com, and I usually don't promote the shirt, but we got Christmas coming up. Everybody always does it for us. So Christmas is a big time for people to get gifts, and this is a perfect gift because a lot of people think as they look in the background or they hear that we only do shirts. Well, when I went on for 4th of July on many programs, I was showing shoes and I was showing umbrellas and I was showing capes and I was showing so many different items that people started buying different things than they ever bought before because they didn't know we had it. So how did I get involved in all this stuff? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. I've been in business 70 years. I'm 83 years old and many things have happened. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of different things. And when I got involved in the Republican Party in Broward County, what happened was it took 3 months before somebody even called me back. It took 3 months before somebody sent me an application. Now that's 6 months going by. And what happened was I finally get in after about 7 months, and that wasted 7 months of time. So I said, well, listen, if they could waste 7 months of time, and if we had over the country, everybody doing the same thing, we'd lose many man hours. So I sat down on my first meeting, nobody came up. Second meeting, nobody come up. So I went up to the chairman. I said, hey, I'd like to take over the phones. I'd like to take over the membership. And she said, oh, that's great because nobody really wants to do it. I said, well, we got 200 people here. What are they doing? Is this a social club? So that's where I started my thing. And as I developed all these times, I went through a bunch of chairman, and everybody had a different concept. And I started learning a lot. And about 4 years ago, I was watching Dan Schultz. Dan Schultz is the inventor of precinctstrategy.com. And if you want to get involved, I won't go through the whole thing today because we're limited in time. We got a lot to cover. But get your camera out, get your pencil out, listen. Or if you're listening on the radio, go to sstern1054gmail.com, and I'll repeat it many times so that you can get this information. Because precinct strategy is the Republican Party. There's 400,000 slots and there's 200,000 people involved. And you may say, well, how is this connected to election security and election integrity and everything we're saying, election fraud protection? We're going to tell you. So 4 years ago, I saw Dan Schultz on Steve Bannon, who was working with Dan for 14 years on getting more people involved in the Republican Party. And I saw Dan on it, and he was talking about it, and I called him up after the show. Somebody gave me his number. And I said, Dan, we have some great things going on in Broward County. He said, well, that's great because Steve Bannon wanted to have success stories on, and you would be perfect. So let me see what he wants to do. And about 2 weeks later, I got on. And that was the first time I had been on TV. Well, you know, when you get on TV and you're going to be in front of 1 million people or more, I had no idea how many he was going to have on. You want to prepare. So I got up about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm jotting down notes. And I never went back to sleep. And I get on there. They tell me I'm going to be on 10:15. To make a long story short, I had a lot of sweat, and I went to 11:46 before I got on. So by 11:46, I lost 5 pounds of sweat. I forgot what I was going to say, and they binged me and said, "Okay, you're on. This is Steve Stern. Works with the Broward County Republican Party, and tell us your success story." So I went through, and I had remembered a lot of things I had written down, and I did about 10 minutes. And Steve said, "Thank you very much. That's great that you're doing this. And, we'll try to have you on again." And, you figured that he was just telling you that because he liked it. But 3 weeks later, they had me on. And I've had a tremendous relationship with our friend, Steve Bannon. And you can see I'm wearing one of the only hats. My son made that for me, the War Room hat. And prior to him going to jail, the family liked me so much because I've been on there about 120 times. And we did a shirt. If anybody'd like to get the shirt,
Nice.
go to standwithbannon.com, and you can get his shirt because Steve Bannon is one of the few leaders that we have in this country, along with President Trump. And you see in the background 2 pictures of me with President Trump. The one on this, that's the one there. That is up in his office. I want to let everybody know, if you're watching, this is actually in his office 2 years before this past election. And I've been up there a couple of times, and I've been with him and at Mar-a-Lago many times. But this one is, and when you walk into the ballroom, you make a left and you go up some stairs, and that's his office. It's not a huge office, but he's got about 7 secretaries in there because President Trump writes a lot of letters. He returns a lot of letters. And that's why he has such a big audience, and that's why people love him, because he does take the time. And I've gotten a few letters from him. One for my birthday was fantastic. And, that's reason that somebody, you do this. So at that point, President Trump, I went up there because I wanted him to tell people his rallies to get involved, and he endorsed precinct strategy. So right away, when he endorsed precinct strategy, he gave me this audience. So this audience was supposed to be 2 weeks before. It was canceled, so I figured he wouldn't even see me, but they rescheduled. And on this particular day, I was involved with Tom Trento, United West, and Michelle Terrace from Jexit. Both of these organizations were going to present President Trump with an award for everything he did for Israel. So I was up there at 4:30 and during this meeting, and then at 6:30 we had our event. So it was great because you go up there for 2 things, because getting into Mar-a-Lago, when you have these events, it takes a long time. You can wait 45 minutes online as they get you through, and the Secret Service goes through you. So if anybody's never been up to Mar-a-Lago, I can tell you plenty of things that go on because I've been up there many times. So what he said to me is the most important things that happened. One, we talking about him asking people to get involved at his rallies. He said he would do it. He also endorsed 2 of my candidates 2 days before the election. I asked him if he'd do it. He did that, which was amazing because who am I? I'm just a guy in the street working hard to protect the country. But he knew me because of the precinct strategy, and the other picture on the other side of me was at an event where I was with 21 people, and he had a round table, and he asked me questions about precinct strategy. And he said, if I knew about precinct strategy, I would have won the 2020 election. So that's why precinct strategy is important, along with the election security. So during this meeting, he said, what do you think about the 2024 election? I said, well, look, I don't think a lot of things have changed. And I think if anything, it's going to get worse because we see the people coming in through the border and there's a lot of illegal aliens. And we know the Democrats want to get them to do this. So he said to me, I know you're doing a precinct strategy Zoom because Liz Harrington, who came up there, told me about it. And why don't you incorporate the election security with the precinct strategy? Well, I said to him, I don't know a lot about election integrity, although I know that they stole the election because I watched everything and I could see them putting in extra ballots. And, in Atlanta, the toilets broke and they said there was a main broke and they put everybody home. But yet you see putting people into the ballots. And we all saw all over the country how they were stealing the election. So about 5 weeks later, I started this election security call every 2 to 3 weeks. And the first one we had was like about 250 people, 5 people from election integrity were doing it. So this went on till about 6 months ago, prior to Steve Bannon going on into prison on his vacation. And what I did every time was put up a sign and ask people to go to sstern1054@gmail.com. So now you put our email up on the bottom, and I'm going to tell you the whole story about that because that's why this is important. When I put this up and I bring it down, people would say to me, hey, you didn't hold it up long enough. So I would put it back up again. But even though then people didn't get their camera. So on this particular event on Steve Bannon in the morning of the election security thing, we put our email on the bottom. We got 1,000 people to sign up. Then Steve said something that changed this whole election security deal. He said, Steve, we're going to put this on Getter, and we're going to put this on Rumble, and we're going to put this on War Room, and you guys are going to be heroes. I said, well, thank you very much, because he knew how hard I worked and what we were doing, and he would always come out and say, hey, Steve Stern, 83-year-old, the hardest working guy in the country. And I said, well, I appreciate that, Steve. And one of the reasons I got together with Steve that much, because I would get up 4:30, 4:45, and I would text him at 4:45. Well, how many people are texting Steve Bannon at 4:45? So he knew that I meant business. And Liz Harrington told him and other people told him. So he is the kind of guy that likes people who work hard, get up early, and try to save the country. So the next day I called Maureen Bannon up. I said, well, you guys had it live. How many people did you get? He said 38,000. I said, wow, why didn't I think about this? So, as an 83-year-old guy, if you learn something new every day, you become better and better. So what I learned, I said to my friends, give me some podcasters. Who are the podcasters? And we started building a team. So on this past Monday, and we built this up till we had millions. And this past Monday, we've already had 7 million people see this. Now, how does that happen? Well, we have podcasters streaming this all over the world. And we reached out on Monday to Australia, the Philippines, Canada, London, Japan, Hong Kong, Russia, Germany, Peru, London. We have 2 people streaming it in London. They got 40,000 people to watch. We had 2 people in Canada. They got 50,000 people to watch. Now, we also had on there, John Fredericks was on our Zoom meeting, and he got his 26 radio stations had 500,000 people on there. So who did we have on, and how did all this change the election? So the precinct strategy and the election security worked together. That was the Republican Party and the Trump campaign and the RNC worked together. Now, over the years, as an officer in the this whole Republican Party, you would think that the Republicans would correlate, would discuss with us. No, you're wrong. So this is the first time in the history of the Republican Party that they actually did something. Because Ronna McDaniels did 0, and that's why we lost the last election. So this time, I got upset. 3, 4, 5 months ago, I called Boris Epstein. Then I said, hey, nobody's communicating. So he gave me Christina Bobb. Christina Bobb got indicted, so she couldn't communicate. Then we gave me Christina Norton. So there was a little communication there. Then they gave me Bill McGinley. Bill McGinley helped. But again, the people he got were not great communicators. So let's say we communicated 30% of the time against 0 the last time. So you could see that it helped. And how that helped was they asked me to do a couple of things, which I did. One of the things was go to Protect the Vote. Now, how to protect the vote help this election? ProtectTheVote.com was the way people signed up for poll watchers and poll workers. And you want to go and see this because that's the way you communicate with the Republican Party. So in this election, against last election in 2022 and 2020, we had 100,000 poll watchers and poll workers. This election, we had over 200,000, and I was able to get them 30 or 40,000 by being on many programs like yours and being on the War Room, being on John Frederick, Steve Gruber, all the Real America Voice, One American News, anybody we could get on to help them to get people involved. So we got people involved and they gave me a gold star, but they still didn't communicate like they could have. So it could have been a lot better than it was, because even though President Trump won by a landslide, a lot of the down ballots, there's still problems. As you know, they're still counting in California, they're still counting in Arizona, ridiculous 3 weeks after the election. So we had a superstar on, Cleta Mitchell. She's one of the top people on election integrity, and it took me a long time to get her on, but I'm on her Zoom meeting every Friday. She has a Zoom meeting other than holidays, and she has all the top people on, and we get a lot of those people from there. One of the guys who's going to be on is Dr. Robert Epstein. I saw him on her Zoom about a year ago, and he is a Democrat, but he did something very good. He has a whole organization. He's a psychologist. And what he did was he showed us on the last election how Google swayed the election between 2 and 5 million votes. Now, that's a lot of votes.
Yep.
So he had 11,000 people working, and he stopped a lot of that going on in this election. Then we had Colonel John Mills on. Colonel John Mills was in Taiwan looking at the election there. So he brought to us a lot of information that, we needed. Then we had one of the top stars on. I have him on every time, Greg Stenstrom. Greg Stenstrom is in Pennsylvania. He currently has many lawsuits out there, but he has a big one in the Supreme Court, where they're, of course, blocking him right now. And he has 389 pages of all the fraud in the 20 and 2022 election, which he has all the proof from. So he's done a terrific job for us, and he explains a lot of stuff that's going on. My superstar of all superstars is Linda Sinkowitz. She's from Connecticut. FightVoterFraud.org. You want to write that down. FightVoterFraud.org. And the reason is, even though the election's over, there's still another election coming over in 2026 and 2028. If you go to sleep, the Democrats take over. So she will give you, if you are an organization in any county in the United States, people that voted twice or registered twice in that county. Now think about this. I'm telling you, she's going to give you 500 people that voted twice or registered twice. And you will say to me, that's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, because she has the data and she can prove it. And she also will show you how to take one person off the voter rolls at a time. It's expensive. But if you go to California and you go to Nevada, you find out that they take people off the voter rolls this week, and 2 weeks later, they're putting them right back on. So they have tons of information coming out. Then we had Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell talks about the machines,
Right.
and he's telling us about what he's going to do going forward. Then we had a great lady on who I've worked with for many years, Michelle Swinick, SaveMyFreedom.us. You want to go to SaveMyFreedom.us. She will show you how they stole the election in Maricopa County on the last election in 2020 and 2022 and 2024, because you see that they're still counting votes. Well, I'm in Florida. In Florida, probably 2 minutes when they close the polls, they can already give you all the data. Because, see, in Florida, we're allowed to count all the mail-in ballots prior to the election day, even though we can't tell anybody what to do. So she has lawsuits going on. She was a judge during the election. She saw how they stole the election, along with Jovan Pulitzer, who works closely with me. So some of these things and some of the people on there have done a wonderful job in helping us. Then we had Hannah Faulkner on. Hannah Faulkner is 17 years old. Now think about this. I'm 83. She's 17.
I saw her. She's amazing.
Right. So we want to get those younger people involved, along with Turning Point USA, who has helped us in this last election. So again, how did we win the election? So we won the election because in this election, prior to the election, the Republicans, along with Laura Trump and everybody I mentioned before, they did the lawsuits prior to this, and I'm going to give you one of them that helped, and if you multiply that out, you'll see what happened. In Detroit, the Democratic Party, who controls Detroit, only allowed 50 poll watchers to Republican, but gave 1,500 poll watchers to the Democrats. They immediately sued and got a ton of poll watchers in Detroit. And this happened in a lot of places like Philadelphia, Milwaukee, because they wanted to steal the election. In Milwaukee, I don't know if everybody saw this, but there was 3 trucks that came in at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning from California with ballots. So I said to myself, I woke up one day and I said, holy cow, who is talking about who prints the ballots? Now, we are going to start right away. Our next Zoom, we're going to have a girl on Dead Monks who's working on research for me to find out all the people that print the ballots. And we're going to go to the Trump campaign and Trump people and say, hey, you got to go after these people who print the ballots. Because let's say in Arizona, they printed 1 million ballots and they only needed 800,000. Where did those other 200,000 ballots go? Nobody's ever discussed this, and I don't know enough about it to let you know one way or the other. But this is one of the areas that we got to go after. So what are the different areas that helped us? The first thing is, of course, President Trump ran a terrific campaign against a candidate that was no good. And that's why it was too big to rig. He knew this, we knew this, but a lot of the pollsters didn't know that. So, and what we did this differently this time, we voted early. We told people to vote early. Don't wait till the last minute. Because if you wait till the last minute and you go online, that happened in Maricopa County, they jammed the machines. And why did they jam the machines? Because Jovan Pulitzer proved that there was a regular ballot and then the other ballot that was about a quarter of an inch, I believe, or a half an inch smaller than the other ballot. So when that ballot went in, it bounced back, and then they put that ballot in a black bag. And Michelle Swinick shows you that 3 weeks later, they came in with these things, but there was no chain of custody in all these ballots. So it was very easy for them to switch ballots because the 200,000 extra ballots that they printed, they used. So then it was the main reason that Democrats thought they were going to win was because of the illegal aliens voting. And a lot of people didn't realize that illegal aliens could vote, because what happened was, if you get a driver's license, when the NGOs bring them into all these Democratic areas, you're able to, after you get your driver's license, you're able to get a thing to register to vote. And if you check off you're an American citizen, you automatically can vote in the party. Also, if you remember, President Biden issued a statement about 1.5 years ago where he invented a site that you could, with your last 4 digits of your social security number, you can register to vote. So think of all these things that they did, but think of all the things we did to stop this. And that's what happened. We had more people coming out to vote. We got them out to vote early. We had many more people working. When I want to thank the hundreds of thousands of people that came out to work for us this time that didn't do last time. And that changed it because they went door to door. They knocked on door. And these people, they really don't get a big chance to let you know what's happening because they don't get a chance to get on TV. So our next election security Zoom, and how can you get on? I'm going to tell you who's going to be on, some of the people that we already have. We're going to have Joel Altman on, who is in charge of production and has his own show on Lindell TV. We're going to have Catherine Engelbrecht on from True to Vote, big time election person. Deb Monks is going to tell you about all the people printing all these ballots. Ohio Brett, he has his own show and he works very closely with me. Joe Hoft has his show. He's also going to tell you about how we're going to stop them from cheating on the next election. We're going to have Dean Giano. He has an app that allows you to call your congressman very quickly. We're going to have Dr. Robert Epstein, who I told you on there. We're going to have Greg Stenstrom back on and many other people. So how do you get on? You send me an email down there below. We'll send you a link. They're already ready. You go to Stern American. Let's everybody go to Stern American Rumble. If you go to Stern American or Stern American Rumble, you will see all the past election security meetings we had, and you can listen to them, and it's going to really help you. Also helping us, very important to have people to help you. If you don't have people to help you, you can't get this job done. So we have yournews.com. I want you to write that down, yournews.com. Very important. Sam Anthony helps us. He puts every podcaster that wants to come on live on there. He puts our podcast on. And if you want to write an article about anything in your precinct, district, you can write that article, and it goes by precinct number or it goes by zip code. And I would say yournews.com is going to go public eventually. And if you want to invest in it, you can go to yournews.com and you can do that. Now, one important good fellow that I have too is Johnny V, who has votifynow.org. I want everybody to go out and get this app, because this app will help you to let you know what's going on in the election when you go to vote. In other words, you see something wrong and you can fix it. And I'm going to show you one thing that nobody probably knows about that happened. And Johnny texted me. And if you will look at this little ballot, this ballot was in Kentucky. You see that little dot next to that Kamala Harris's name.
Yep.
And that little dot means that if you didn't vote for a presidential candidate, because some people don't vote for a presidential candidate, that dot will pick up Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate that you voted for, even though you didn't vote for her. So that was just one of the things that he told us about, and we brought attention to there. So what do we have to do different going forward? And I want to tell you that last Friday, here's a letter that I sent to President Trump, and we are asking him to appoint a czar. So if he gets a election integrity, election security, election fraud prevention czar, our people can go to his people and we can get the job done. Because I sent him all these people that he doesn't know about that are our election integrity people. And I want to show you how many. This is just a list of some of them. But look at all the people that we have that can help this. These are some of the main characters who are doing the job that helps win elections. And you know that the Democrats have been doing this for 30 years, and the Republicans kind of let it go and didn't do anything. So I know I talk a lot. I want to give you a chance to ask a couple of questions. I'm starting to get hoarse. I get about 30 minutes and I start to get hoarse. So and it's funny because one of the ladies saw me on Steve Bannon, and she says, Steve, go home, get some oxygen, because you don't breathe when you talk, and you need the oxygen when you get home. So give me a couple of questions. I'll try to answer them and let you know some of the things that you would like to know.
Okay, Steve Stern, let's say you're in control for a day. What would be your ideal way of conducting elections? For example, you already mentioned one, like early voting, for example. I have a bunch of bullet points that I'm thinking of, but if you could change things for voting, what are some of the things that you might envision?
1 day voting, holiday, paper ballots. It's as simple as that. Bannon, every major person says the same thing. 1 day voting, make it a holiday, and paper ballots. End of discussion. Now, if we can't get that, we've got to investigate and we've got to prove where the stealing went on so that people will get arrested for voting twice, for registering twice when they shouldn't be. And how does that happen? Well, if you live in New York, a lot of people have houses in New Hampshire or they have houses in Vermont. So they vote in New York and then they ride up and they vote in New Hampshire. You can register the same day and vote the same day. So we have candidates that should have won around all over. There shouldn't be as such in California where they only send out ballots and you can't vote in person. It's mail-in ballots. Well, you know, there are people getting 10 ballots. It's been shown. And Republicans get 1 ballot. The Democrats get 10 ballots. There's dead people. So the good news is you heard President Trump talk about an investigation of the 2020 election and how it was stolen. We hope that happens. Cleta Mitchell working with Congress, the Senate and House to pass legislation to try to get the machines out of there, to try to do all this stuff. So there's many, many important things in this country. Close the border, get the prices down. So President Trump has a huge job. And, you know, I'm lucky enough to get up there with him. It's a great honor. And it was a great honor to get a nice letter for my birthday. And, you know, I just may have it here. So I want to read it because a lot of people say, Steve, I know you've worked hard. And what really do they do anything for you, the RNC? No, they don't. But when you get a letter like this, which I think show you the letter so you know it's from President Trump. There's a signature. I got this on my 81st birthday, and I'm 83. And it says, "Dear Steve, we join your family and friends in wishing you a happy 81st birthday. Our nation is strong because of hardworking patriots like you who believe in and defend the great ideals of faith, family, community, and country first. Your commitment to excellence and dedication in exemplifying the American dream through ingenuity, hard work, and principled leadership is the foundation of your tremendous success and demonstrates the proud spirit of family-owned and operated business. As you celebrate this special day, we hope your heart is filled with joy, knowing you have experienced our country's greatest blessings, freedom, the affection of your loved ones. Melania and I send our very best wishes for your continued health, happiness, and success. Happy birthday. May God bless you and your family. Sincerely, Donald Trump." Now, you get a letter like this, it makes you want to work even harder because this is the President of the United States. This is the President-elect of the United States. To get a letter like this, extremely gratifying. And I had no idea how that happened, other than maybe Liz Harrington, who worked with me, said Steve Stern has done a lot for this country. Well, I'm very happy to do this. I'm very happy to do this. I do this all for free. That's why. And plus, I do not own the flag shirt company anymore. I gave everything to my son, just as my father gave everything to me. So we are a family operation, and it started with my dad. There's my son. He and I work together continuously, and we did when I started before the flag shirt was a shirt called bandedbottom.com. If you go to www.bandedbottom.com, that's the way I started. I worked with J.C. Penney for 44 years, selling them this shirt and designing a line of mature men's shirts for them. When everybody wanted pockets, none of the stores carried shirts with pockets. So I manufactured shirts with 2 pockets, 4 pockets, 6 pockets, one on the sleeve, because older gentlemen at that time wanted stuff so they could put their glasses in there, their cigarettes in there. And today, I'm happy to say we're the #1 in the world on a banded bottom shirt. And a banded bottom shirt has a little band on the bottom, and it enables you to put a shirt over your pants, wear suspenders, and we go all the way up to 6X. So we are able to cover our little stomachs that we get. And we have a lot of policemen that wear it to cover their firearms. Retired policemen, a lot of them carry it. So we're very happy to do this, and I'm very happy to be here today. And again, let me answer a couple more questions before I run out of steam.
Just one more, basically, and that's this: time is of the essence. Time is critical, and one of the reasons that it's critical is we got to be ready for the midterms. It's not just 2028. We have to be ready for the midterms in 2026. That's only 2 years. Then even next year, 2025, there's a bunch of special elections. There's some House special elections, some gubernatorial elections. So time is of the essence. Time is absolutely critical. So again, if people want to contact you, Steve Stern, where can they go to contact you to read more about you?
Right below where it says stern1054@gmail.com, or go to Stern American Rumble. You'll see a lot of our interviews we did. We did a lot of interviews in California. Tina Saloon is one of our good contacts out there. She called me one time to see if I could turn California red. I said, I'm a good, but I'm not that good, but let's try. So she's my top person. We got a guy in South Carolina, myscgop.com, mysouthcarolinagop.com. He sends out a newsletter every day. We have people in every state because precinct strategy is the Republican Party. You attend meetings, you vote. Now we're coming up with vote in December. Every 2 years, you vote for new officers. You get candidates elected. We got 27 new Republicans elected in Broward County. It's a Democratic stronghold, so we feel very good about that. You become poll watchers and poll workers. Now, I will say this. We need people desperately because 4 years ago, there was 400,000 slots, 200,000 people involved. 4 years later, there's 400,000 slots and 200,000 people involved. So 60 million Republican voters or thereabouts. Where are you? So you need to step up. It's very simple. You can give everybody an hour a week. an hour a day, whatever you decide. But you're 100% right. When I got through with the election, the next day I happened to be on a show, and I said, I took an hour off, and I'm telling everybody, do not quit. Because what happens is when you win like we won, people are going to think that we're going to wipe them out. But if you go to Real Clear Politics, you could see every congressional seat, who won, by how much they won, where we lost our seats in New York, where we gained our seats in Pennsylvania, where we're having a problem with seats in Orange, California. There are seats that we were way up, and all of a sudden now it's close or maybe even losing. And these are the things that are treacherous, because the Democrats are going to cheat wherever they can to win the election for the House. Because usually what happens is when there's a Republican or a Democratic stronghold the next season, it changes. But I got to tell you this time, we are going to fight like I'm not going to use the word, but you know what I'm saying, to hold the House, because we need to win more seats. Now, we're only about 6 seats ahead or 5 seats ahead, and that could change in a minute. So try to look at that. Try to see who your candidates are. Get better candidates. If you lost an election and you don't have a good candidate, get a good candidate. We don't want to lose those seats in New York. We don't want to lose those seats in California, because you will look and it'll say all the way through it, Republican hold, Democratic hold, pick up by Republican, pick up by Democrat. Well, there's not a lot of change. So they're going to go after the seats that we won. And if we go to sleep, we're going to lose the next election. So I agree with you 100%. I always end up by saying action, action, action. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a great pleasure to be here. And you're one of the few people that interview me that wear our shirts, because normally there you go. I appreciate that. Theflagshirt.com.
Thank you ever so kindly. Steve Stern, thanks for your time today. The day before Thanksgiving. That's a remarkable appearance. I hope you have the greatest of Thanksgivings. I appreciate your time, and God bless you, sir. You take care, sir.
Thank you so much.
That was Steve Stern. That was a great conversation. And I want to let you know, when I was talking to Steve about, well, what would you do? What are some of the things that you'd like to see? If I were in control for a day, what would be my ideal ways of conducting elections? As Steve mentioned, one of them would be a federal holiday for federal elections. Paper ballots only. 1 day to count. You're going to need additional election workers. ID required in all states for federal elections. We got to start there. Let's start there. You want to make it for local elections? Each state, ID required for elections. Absentee ballots. Absentee ballots only for persons who are physically away from the United States. Soldiers, people serving abroad, that sort of thing. And continuously, this continues to astound me. And that's, we have election boards and we have election panels. And what are they doing when they're not having elections? Are they doing anything? They should be scrubbing all of those lists. People that have passed away, checking the lists, adding to the lists new people. And if that means that you have to buy more people, then you need to buy those folks. That's exactly what you need to do. Election integrity is critical, absolutely critical to the continued success of the United States of America, where actual Americans, and I say this as actual Americans, I don't mean illegal invaders, I mean actual Americans. Those that listen and watch my show know exactly what I mean. All Americans, actual Americans of all shades and all stripes, absolutely need to know that their vote counts. And it isn't siphoned off into some fraudulent machine digitally that does whatever it's told. As far as I'm concerned, as far as I think, the vote is sacrosanct, as our freedoms and liberties are, which is why election integrity, election fairness, election efficiency, and election accuracy are absolutely critical. Somebody pointed this out the other day. I was watching some show, I don't recall which one. The entire country of India had 615 million people vote this year. They totaled up all those votes in one day. Leftist states like California, it takes literally weeks. We don't have complete and accurate results from, say, California. Always spell it with a K. We need to fix this crap, and we need to fix it right now. Now, at the end of the podcast, now when I post this, all of these sites will be up there, and they'll be in the podcast notes. But I'm going to go through some of the sites that Steve mentioned. Save My Freedom. That's savemyfreedom.substack.org. These are all if you want to get involved. They will be at the end of the podcast notes after the show has posted. Here's another one. FightVoterFraud.org. Because you and I both know if we're thinking human beings, rational human beings, we know this exists. Voter fraud exists. Oh, BZ, there is no voter fraud. Bull. There is. Also, this one. ProtectTheVote.com. ProtectTheVote.com. Then another. He mentioned this already. Steve Stern mentioned this. PrecinctStrategy.com. PrecinctStrategy.com. And then another. Election Research Institute. The Election Research Institute.org. VerityVote.us. VerityVote.us. And AmericanStatesRightsForum.com. Also, VotifyNow.org. VotifyNow.org. Patriot Online. Patriot.online. It's an internet town hall and a privacy ecosystem designed to reclaim the republic. And an interesting book, The Parallel Election, parallelelection.com. Now, all of these places, I should care to point out, these are spots on the internet that I recommend. I've been on any number of Zoom calls already with Steve Stern and most of the people that he has mentioned. I will continue to be on these calls because election integrity is critical, and the fight is just beginning. The fight is just starting. November 5th, we were pretty much assured that Donald Trump won the Electoral College and he won the popular vote. And leftists began to cry because that's what they do. It's not fair. We cheated as much as we could and you still won. How does that happen? I will have all of these. Donate some time. Do what you can. I'm not getting paid for any of this stuff. My ads, I'm not getting paid. There is no firewall to the show. This is all free because I'm old, ancient, and I advocate all of these things. Again, thanks to Steve Stern, who was on. Also, thanks for watching live or in podcast and taking the time to watch the show today and any other time. Well, that's it for the Saloon this week. Now, I'm going to return next week at my customary time, where you can find, as per normal, more buttery political goodness, because that's what I do. Because, as I say, I am your political Sherpa. I am your conservative Sherpa. And that's what I bring to you. So again, in the meantime, let's give thanks. Let's give thanks for the bullets that we and President Trump literally dodged on July 13th and November 5th. It didn't come as a result of complacency. It came as the result of movement, of actions, of concerted efforts by people like you and me. Actual Americans, and you know what I mean by actual Americans now, who truly love our country, want to see her strong, unified, sovereign, independent, and uniquely American. So when you sit around the Thanksgiving table tomorrow, I suggest that we all give thanks for our freedoms, for our liberties, and thanks to the 1,305,000 men and women who gave their lives to form and hold and keep this country near, dear, and free. So, folks, thanks to Steve Stern. Thanks to you for being here, watching live and in podcast. God bless America. Take care, and everyone be safe.